Now, let's talk about a prominent black rights campaigner hit back after being accused of pretending to be mixed race when he is allegedly white, saying the accusation is a white supremacist conspiracy. Wow. Shaun King is a key figure in the Black Lives Matter movement and claims he suffered a racially motivated attack in his childhood. However, an investigative blogger is now claiming he is a fraud and says the police report from the time of the attack proves that he is white. Let's talk about it in more detail. Should be joining us from Miami via Skype is Milo Yiannopoulos.
Hello.
He is the associate editor of Breitbart News. Thank you for joining us on Sky News this afternoon. Regular contributor, of course, as many of our viewers will know. What on earth is going on here then?
Well, when I'm not on your show talking about gender politics, I occasionally do real journalism. And this week I broke the story that Shaun King, one of the most prominent figures in the Black Lives Matter movement, has been telling fibs. He told Rebel magazine in 2012 that he had a white mother and a black father, and he also constantly refers to himself on Twitter and in interviews as mixed race with a mixed family. That turns out not to be true. Investigative blogger Vicky Pate has found his birth certificate and tracked down his parents. In fact, it turns out he's white. Not very many outlets in the United States are still defending him. There are a couple, Vox, BuzzFeed and Salon, who are saying, who's to determine what blackness is anyway? Being black is just a social construct. But that's the sort of loony fringe of the commentary, most of which is focused on him deceiving the black community and, most crucially, damningly, and I think this is a problem for his reputation. I think this is, the thing that's going to really linger. He applied for and accepted an Oprah Winfrey scholarship to historically black college, Morehouse College in the United States. If he is in fact white, the argument is that he effectively robbed a young black child, a young black man, of the opportunity to go to university. That's a very serious charge.
Now, Ray King, who is his wife, has said this. I think they've been together for 20 years. She says he has made many mistakes, just like me and just like you. But regarding his race, he's never lied, not once. His story is beautifully difficult and painful, and I've actually encouraged him to tell it publicly because it is a unique expression of this country's sordid and ridiculous history with race. But it's his story to tell. What would you say in response to that?
There's a weird sort of sleight of hand going on here. Shaun King didn't come out yesterday in response to my story. When we published on Breitbart, the revelations, we sourced his birth certificate ourselves. We established, I think, beyond doubt who his father is. And even if he's now sort of subtly suggesting that perhaps his father is someone else, there's still a police report from 1995 that lists him categorically as white. We've also had family members. One family member told Don Lemon on CNN, this guy's white. We grew up with him. He's white. Family members and old family friends of Shaun King's have also come to me and said, yes, I remember him, and he was white. There's a sleight of hand going on here where there's sort of implication that something terrible might have happened to his mum. I think it's a distraction tactic. If it were true that he were biracial, or if it were true that he was simply white, why isn't he just saying so? Shaun King went on a 40 or 42 tweet rampage yesterday, blaming me for some sort of extraordinary white conspiracy theory. I mean, this is all smoke and mirrors. The fact is, this guy took a scholarship at Morehouse College, a scholarship paid for by Oprah Winfrey that is intended for young black men. He's also set himself up explicitly stating that he is a biracial man as one of the leaders of Black Lives Matter. It turns out he's Caucasian. That's fairly cut and dry for me. If he's white or not, he should simply come out and say so. And these sort of sly implications designed to shame people into not asking any more questions, to me, I think it's a pretty poor way to explain some of the many questions that his black supporters will be having today.
Let's talk about this attack then. He says that he was put upon by a huge group of people. You are suggesting, or it is being suggested, that actually it was just fisticuffs between two people. Sheer Gold coming out in his defense. He says he was there at the time. He says he never saw what hit him, Shaun King. He never had a chance. I didn't stop to count how many attacked him, but the number was easily in the neighborhood of a dozen. They were big white farm boys.
Well, Shaun King's always maintained that he was attacked by people who describe themselves as rednecks, which has always sounded slightly implausible. Look, there are eyewitness accounts on both sides of this. There are people who say that the attack on him was racially motivated, but not because he was black, because he was a white man dating a black girl. Now, that doesn't make the attack any better or worse, but what's interesting is the police report doesn't reflect King's version of events. Now, he's going to have to explain not only why some eyewitnesses saw a different thing to his best mate who have suddenly remembered that they were there too, and suddenly remembered that their account of this coheres precisely with Shaun King's, which, as anyone who's covered these sorts of things will know, is always very suspicious. But also why some eyewitnesses remember things entirely differently, and why the police report, in addition to listing him as white, says that he suffered minor injuries, not the terrifying and crippling spinal injury he claims, and that the attack was simply a spat between two people. What we have to go on is the police report, I think. They were there at the time. This is 1995. It was 20 years ago now. He's going to be able to produce people who will say anything for him. You know, he's a very popular, very prominent civil rights leader. It's not like no one's ever lied for them in the past. I think what we have to go on is the police report and the eyewitnesses and the people who knew him and who doubt his story, who are either his own family members or other people who knew him as growing up.
I'm sure his supporters would say, let's not go with the police report. And furthermore, they would say that this is taking away from the issues, which, in their opinion, is police brutality.
Well, I think Shaun King's own biography and the questions about it are distracting from the narrative about police brutality. He always likes to distract us whenever he has difficult questions to answer by all of the good work that he does. But that good work is being called into question. How can we trust anything this man says on any subject when basic facts about his own biography are inconsistent? He tweeted once that he was the father to 4 daughters, and 6 months later that changed to 3 daughters. Now, sure, maybe that was a family tragedy, but it's not the only thing in which he's inconsistent. It isn't just his race. He sometimes says he's had 3, sometimes 4, sometimes 5 spinal surgeries. Everything about this man's life seems to be slightly confusing or questionable or have some sort of fog around it. And I think his supporters, who have donated, by the way, something like $500,000 by his own estimation to his fundraising efforts, and some of that money is still unaccounted for. His own supporters want to know who this man is. They want to know the truth about him, and they want to know if they can trust him when they spend money, when they donate money to the causes he thinks are important, in good faith, believing that he is who he presents himself to be, and that the money is going to end up where it belongs. Because this isn't just, an activist who takes to the street and blogs. This is a man who raises large sums of money for the causes he cares about, and about whom the Washington Post said there are huge questions about whether that money ever reaches the intended victims to support them.
You must accept on some level, though, must you not, that he does try to help black communities who feel they are being oppressed by police or police brutality, depending on your perception?
Yes, of course, and that's the great tragedy about this. It's not like there aren't problems in America. There's not like there aren't problems, with race in America. It's not like the black community doesn't have some valid grievances in the United States. The problem is that every one of their spokespeople seems to turn out to be a fraud. We had Rachel Dolezal, who was an NAACP spokesman and an academic in Washington State, turned out to be white, turned out to have lied about dozens of things. We've got this guy who turns out to have lied about dozens of things. What is it about the Black Lives Matter movement which is attracting these lying, mendacious attention seekers who are papering over what they consider to be embarrassing about their pasts? Are we now so ashamed of white people that we're encouraging people to pretend to be black? Why do they need to pretend to be black in the first place? It's not like the black community doesn't have white figureheads. It's not like there aren't questions to answer. But what is it about, I think there are interesting questions there, for our society, the society we've created where it seems to be okay to always bash straight white men and all this kind of stuff. Why are some people so ashamed of their own identity that they pretend to be a different race? It's very weird. And I think, sure, he's doing some good work. There's a lot of questions to answer on race in America. But the one thing that has to be cleared up now, is he black? Is he white? And why did he lie?
Why are you in Miami?
I'm on holiday, actually. My holiday's been completely destroyed by this story, so I'm sorry if it's loud and I'm wearing silly earphones and all the rest of it. I'm in my hotel lobby talking to you. We've been legaling this story for a long time. We've been working on this. We've been making sure that we've got our facts right. We've been retracing the steps of the investigative blogger Vicky Pake took, making sure that she got everything right, making sure that we were absolutely right on this, and we were. It's appeared everywhere. It's been on CNN, Fox News, the New York Times. This is a huge global story now, and it's a really important thing, I think, for us to start holding people to account who claim to be moral guardians for the rest of society, who pontificate on platforms about police brutality, but who themselves are unable to answer basic questions about who they are. So yeah, I'm still hoping that I'll get to the pool at some point, but I'm not sure.
And you've been on Sky News as well now. It's always great to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks so much, Kay. Cheers.
Thank you. Thank you. Should white people really be allowed to define who is black? Still to come on the programme for you. Business News.